Good morning, Bardstown and Nelson County, and welcome to Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford with you this beautiful sunny morning in downtown Bardstown. Good morning, Margie.
Good morning, Jim.
Well, what a glorious morning it was.
Know it's beautiful out there, and the few flowers that I've got out and potted in my plants, the deer haven't gotten them yet. So it's a good day in the backyard so far.
Well, I'll tell you, you maybe you need to do what we did on our garden. It's called chicken wire and T-post.
I know.
You can keep the deer out of it.
Put a little flower pot out, and then you got to put a fence around it. That's kind of defeats the purpose of having the flower pot.
Well, you just have to put your flowers someplace the deer are unlikely, like maybe up on your porch.
Well, in the house is about the only place.
Well, Margie, before we introduce our guests, I just wanted to. I know you've had lots of inquiries, and I've answered many texts and emails about the Nelson County Gazette. This is its 20th year of existence. However, several weeks ago, about the end of April, the Gazette went offline, and it surprised me as much as it did listeners. And so I made the company I work with for the hosting is based in Henderson. And I've been working with Kenny for, I guess, 15 years now. He, maybe 12 to 15 years. And he's an IT guy. And so I'm like, well, it's probably a temporary outage. Well, several weeks in, it's still a temporary outage, I guess. But he's kind of ghosted me and my account and the business. And at this point, I'm just trying to recover get backups of the files, because that's at least a dozen years of content that I have no access to. Every story I ever wrote about Crystal Rogers' disappearance. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of history on the Nelson County Gazette backup, all those files, and I can't get a response. And it's if I could get a download of the site, I could move it and restore it and have it back in working order. Instead, I've been rebuilding a new Nelson County Gazette. Of course, without all the content that was on the original one. So anyway, but it's funny how things happen. The changeover with the city cable system to Spectrum, I lost access to the email account that I used 20 years ago to register NelsonCountyGazette.com. And the company that manages that, I went there and I changed the contact email. And they promptly said, okay, that's great. You can't make any changes for 30 days now, because it's a security measure to keep somebody from hijacking, somebody's domain name. Well, I don't want to hijack it. I just want to point it to the new website that I've got built, and I can't do it. It's been one frustration after another. So the Gazette will actually come back in another 2.5-3 weeks, and that's about to kill me, because when you've been online 20 years and do all your work online, and suddenly you can't, or the only thing I do now, I post all the content on social media, and you'd be surprised how many people no longer are on Facebook. Or don't think to check it. So I've got email from a childhood, a Maple Hill neighbor of mine who said, how can I get the Gazette? I'm not on social media. And I'm like, well, God bless you for staying away from Facebook. Anyway, it's kind of turned into a cesspool, depending on what information you're looking for. But anyway, that's just a little commentary there. But anyway, the Gazette is there. I've updated with all the information that's current now. All the stories about City Council from last night, Fiscal Court from last week, this show, the shows from WBRT they're all on the Gazette, Nelson County Gazette YouTube channel. So anyway, the content is being uploaded. It's just not, the site isn't live yet, unfortunately, and there's nothing I can do except wait. So So if a person goes to the YouTube channel, they can find you. Yeah, if you search Nelson County Gazette on YouTube, you can find the video content.
That's words I can understand.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, it's been terribly frustrating, and I don't know what's happened to my friend in Henderson. It's just I have no idea if his business went under or what's going on. And, I don't know that I'll ever find out. But at this point, it doesn't matter. I've got to do something to move forward. I'm not going to let the Gazette die an unpleasant death just because this guy cut us off. So,
Well, there are a lot of people in Nelson County and out of Nelson County who depend on that.
Absolutely, and almost 90% of visitors to the site use their phone or other electronic device. I don't. Now I update it looking at my computer screen. So
Yeah.
Just because it's easier for me to. I can't. Sending text messages, I've got fat finger syndrome. So, anyway, sometimes my text messages look like they were written in a different language. But anyway, so the Gazette is still there. The Gazette will be back at NelsonCountyGazette.com, just not as fast as I really want it to. So anyway, that's the update there.
But 30 days anyway.
Yeah, it'll be in less than 30 days now.
Okay, good.
But it can't become fast enough.
All right.
All right. Margie, I'll introduce our very special guest, and I have to, like I always do, I had to blame Kenny Fogle for getting me on radio. He called me up after the 2005 election, was it? And said, Jim, how'd you like to do a show on politics? And I thought, well, that sounds like fun, because I think I caught your attention because the Gazette had some editorial comments about the campaign. You were running for judge executive. So, but anyway, and so since then, it's been 19 years now.
Well, like I said, I remember it very closely because I'm a big fan of journalism. I mean, you and I had lunch, I think, somewhere during one of those campaigns, and a lot of people they're wary of journalists. They're just they think journalists are the problem. But to me, that is probably the only thing that's holding the United States of America together in many cases is good journalism. Now we've got some journalists out there that I question sometime, but no, you impressed me with your journalism. Professionalism, I guess you'd have to say. And to me, that was what was very important. To me, a good journalist is something that is why this country is, the way this country is today. Because we've had some sorry politicians, we've had some sorry judges, but journalists, basically, you can find a good one most anywhere, because most journalists work for low pay. They're well educated. They're very up on current events. And we could have a whole hour on just this, because to me, I think
basically journalism is, to me, is supposed to report on what is happening without slanting the viewpoint.
Exactly.
Leave out the adjectives and just report on events, and people make up their own mind.
Well, that's exactly correct. And people go on with this mainstream media. It's become a political thing, the mainstream MSM they call it. And to me, that is probably the most dangerous thing people can be doing right now, is slamming the media, because the media is probably the only thing keeping us from going completely under. In not just this particular today, but in many cases going back to this birth of the country. Because I think good journalism is what has saved the United States of America in many ways. And for people slamming the media today, it just absolutely blows me away that people can look at the media as the enemy, because the media is the only thing that is on our side and consistently on our side.
Right.
Going back to
otherwise you get a despot. You
get
a person in there who controls everything, and then it doesn't matter what the truth is. The truth is what they say it is.
Exactly.
And that is not the truth.
So that's what impressed me with Jim when I met him years ago. And I thought, well, if we're going to have a show, we had a guy doing political show at the time, and I said, if we're going to have a show, I love show Jim Carville and what's his name? Tucker Carlson
Yeah.
had a show on years
Yes, he
ago.
did.
I thought it was an excellent
Yes,
show,
absolutely.
Crossfire.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was great. And I wish, and be honest with you, in many ways, I wish the United States government did that. If you ever watch the Prime Minister's questions on TV, I'd love to watch legislation done right in the public. Have both sides come on the media, open air, and debate. And instead of all this stuff behind closed doors, I think we've got so much stuff behind closed doors now. So when we did the show, Jim was representing the conservative side. I was representing the liberal side. And we had callers that called in and represented every side.
Right.
So we had some good shows because we explored both sides of an issue. We didn't just explore one side, say, hey, this is it. We sat there and actually debated issues, and that's not being done too much anymore.
That's what public discourse is.
And that's exactly, because right now, if you want to go to Newsmax or Fox, you'll get the conservative side. If you want to go to CNN or MSNBC, you'll get more of a liberal side. The two join together and have a Fox CNN forum. I mean, I would watch that every day, because to me, that's what I want to see. I want to see two people or two sides that actually know what they're talking about, debate each other, and you might actually change your mind every now and then, and you might actually reach what's called the truth every now and then instead of just the slanted truth. So that's just a little history of why I called you that day.
Well, Kenny, you mentioned Crossfire. Another favorite of mine was the McLaughlin group because
He was a little loud for me.
Oh,
but
yeah, but that was just his persona.
I know it.
But he always had good. He had liberal and conservative journalists, and I will tell you now today. Of course, I consider myself a conservative, but I have satellite radio in my car, and I love it. And my favorite channel that I listen to every time I'm in the car is the Progressive channel. And that's all liberals talk shows, all liberal, because, and I used to say I did it for opposition research, but really I want to hear, I don't watch much TV news since we cut off cable, but I want to hear what people are thinking, and and also listen to Urban View, which is the African American slant or take on things, and I listen to that a lot too, because it's kind of broadened my perspectives. I mean, I don't always agree with everything, but it's what people are saying, and of course they get phone calls from all over the country, and but I enjoy that, and I've called in on their most liberal talk show host, and I told him, I said, well, I'm doing opposition research. I'm a Republican, anyway, but we had a good conversation.
Well, I think critical thinking is absolutely essential. I'm either on NPR or the Beatles channel, so I mean I know that's a pretty wide choice there, but I listen to NPR just almost all the time, because you never know one day to the next what their subject and topic's going to be. So
no, and they do they have great sources and good reporting too, in general. Now again, when it comes to political reporting, you may not always agree, but hearing that point of view.
I want to always hear the opposition. When I'm on, you talked about Facebook earlier, when I'm on Facebook, I ask people sometimes, please tell me your side of it. Now, if they come in and have a good conversation, I'm loving it. Now, if they come in and call me some kind of strange name or really just go off on some deep end, I don't want to deal with them anymore, because that's not conversation. That's just basically accusations and going into rhetoric and drama and things of that nature. But yeah, I want to have that conversation. I want to have that conversation to show me not where I'm wrong, but show me or lead me into how you're thinking. Because I'm not saying I'm always right, even though you start out thinking you're right. Have a discussion, and that's what we're not having right now. We're not having those discussions anywhere. I mean, you see it. I mean, unless Mitch McConnell told me something one time, and I hate to quote Mitch, but he and I happened to be in the same room, and there were the only two there one day. And so I walked up to him, sat down, and I said, Senator,
been a fly on the wall.
Well, I was there, and he was waiting for his driver. I didn't have a driver, but I was still there. But I was sitting there, and I said, Senator, I said, you got a few minutes? He said, well, sure. So we sat down and talked, as when Obama was president. I said, I watch TV all the time, and I said, why is it you and Barack Obama cannot get along? He said, no, Kenny, he's a great guy. I said, well, it sure doesn't come across like that on the Chief, he said, well, we've got a job to do. He said, my job is one thing, his job is one thing. And he says, in private, we get along fine. He said, I've been to dinner with him, lunch with him, so we joke around and have a good time. But said, in public, says, we both got different jobs to do. I said, well, I just wish you would do it differently. And in public, you all could show some semblance of how you get along. I don't know that that'll happen because he's too stubborn. And I thought to myself, which one's too stubborn? But I didn't want to get into that argument.
Well, you're right. They both have jobs to do, and they also have constituencies. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think the hardcore Democrats would say if he and he and McConnell were too buddy-buddy?
Oh, well, that's true.
I mean, the visual is everything.
But Reagan and Tip O'Neill seemed to do it, but it was a different time a little bit. Obviously, Facebook wasn't in coming into screen. Ronald Reagan would not be elected today if he was on Facebook. He would just simply not. The Republican Party would reject Ronald Reagan in a heartbeat, and the Democrats would probably reject Tip O'Neill.
Well, when you consider where both parties were and where they are now, I mean, it's been pretty massive changes in party philosophies.
Well, that's basically. I mean, we're going to get into it really why I'm here today, but basically, that's sort of what I wanted to talk about a little bit today. Is politics. I've been into it for over 50 years now. It's kind of hard to believe I'm even that old, but over 50 years I've been dealing in politics. Either I studied it in college, I studied it, worked in it, and I don't know how many countless campaigns. Won a few, lost a few. But the thing is, it's a very fluid business. I mean, the politics is a very fluid business. It's so different. Everybody says, politics in the 60s is different from politics. It's really not. The labels are what becomes different. The people are the same. I mean, there's no difference between an 1800 Democrat and a 2020 Republican, except that the labels have changed. I mean, the Democrats of the 1800s are now Republicans, and the Republicans of the 1800s are now Democrats.
I just think that is so. I of course, read those books, and it's just amazing. I mean, they've just switched. Mm-hmm. All they've done, they've switched labels.
Yeah. Well, they saw what the other side was doing good, so they started co-opting the other side. Like originally, I mean, during the 1800s, most black people were Republicans because that's the Republicans recruited black people. Yeah. Well, black people.
Lincoln was a Republican.
Well, sure.
And he freed the slaves.
He did, but the black people soon realized that they weren't included in the process. They were just used as tools, basically. Okay, we got all the black people on our side, so we must support blacks. Well, the black people realized they had no voice, so they started gradually moving over to the Democratic Party, who allowed them to have a voice in the party, and that's slowly how that happened. Same way with women. Women originally were, you look at Laura Clay, Henry Clay's daughter, they were all Republicans until they got into the suffragist movement, and and then all of a sudden they started slowly moving to Democrats. So it was a slow move. It didn't happen overnight. Right. But people, I hear this all the time. I didn't leave the party left me. No, that's not true at all. The party did change, but you either didn't change with it or you decided you'd rather be with the other opposition side. So the party did change. I'm not ever going to say that the party didn't leave you, but it wasn't something that the party just said, I don't want you anymore. It's just we believe in different things.
Well, now I say that I've said that forever, that I didn't leave the Democratic Party, it left me. But that from my perspective, that's I consider it true, but I understand what you're saying because it's and when you look at the issues, think 20 years ago, what were the main burning issues? I mean, we had, and I don't know if it was 20 years, but remember all the stink about flag burning?
Oh yeah.
And it's just, and there were so many social issues, and I think both parties take advantage of a hot social issue for their just to build up their own party, and there've been so much time wasted arguing.
Well, I see
these sort of baloney. Yeah.
I'm a big flag person myself because I served 25 years in the Air Force, and it bothers me when I see the flag used in the wrong way. But you see people now wearing the flag as underwear. I mean, they wear it as sweaters. I mean, they wear it as a toboggan on the top of their head. That's not flag etiquette. I mean, that's the same as burning the flag, but they don't look at it that way. They look at it as, oh, I'm a patriot. No, you're not. You just violated one of the biggest etiquettes there is to violate. Mm-hmm. But you relabeled it. So,
but I don't know. I mean, politics so much has changed, and with the second Trump administration. And I will tell you, as a Republican, the last 100 days have been vastly different than what I had anticipated under a second Trump presidency, and I will tell you, I'm not tickled with everything. I mean, as I told you before the show, check your 401k investments, and mine are down by half. Mm-hmm. And my wife doesn't really want to look because she doesn't want to read the bad news. But as she said, well, you know how the markets fluctuate, and they have had tremendous fluctuations in the last 100 days in response to the things that the president does or says he's going to do. And one of the most frustrating things to me is I see all these trial balloons go up, that the president says, well, I might run for a third term, Well, constitutionally he can't.
He knows he's not.
Yeah, but then it gets people stirred up like, oh my God, he's going to violate the Constitution. Well, that'll just be another violation. But anyway, don't get me started.
Rob Smotherman up here at Edward Jones told me I was one of his favorite investors because I do exactly like your wife, because I don't check. Yeah. I mean, I don't, because I know that it's going down. It may come back, and it may take a while to get back.
Right.
And if you're in a hurry for your 401k, you're in trouble.
Right.
But if you can wait another 5-10 years, you might be okay because it'll eventually come back. But if you need your 401k next week, sorry for your luck. I mean, you just got you're in serious trouble.
Right.
But this shouldn't have happened. That's the whole key to it. It's not the key that it did happen. The key is it should not have happened. This was a man-made thing that should not have occurred, and it hurt a lot of people, and it's going to take a while to recover.
The only people that will profit by it are the people who can afford to hold on to their stocks and buy it at the low.
Oh yeah, but it was on sale. It was on sale there for a few weeks.
From the people who can't afford it. So then it will eventually go back up, profiting those who had the money to do that, whereas the bottom part of the population who depend on their 401ks and just what they have in the bank and what they have invested, that they get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, so same way, like I said, we can get into a lot of things like Social Security, Medicare, and all that kind of stuff, Medicaid. Yeah. But yeah, we're talking differences in party, and we're also talking some difference in intra-party. Mm-hmm. I mean, Democrats said the same thing. We've got the RAOC, and people say, that's the thing about the Democratic Party. If you've been keeping up lately, there's a guy named David Hogg, and David Hogg is the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee under Ken Martin. Ken Martin's the chair. Ken Martin and David Hogg see the Democratic Party 100% different. So they're trying to get rid of David Hogg. He's one of the guys in the shootings down in Florida, Parkland. I can't remember the school down there, but he's one of the survivors of that.
I think it is Parkland.
One of those schools. He's one but he got elected about 6-8 months ago as vice chair of the Democratic Party. Well, what he's come in, and he's just been somewhat radical. He's come in and said the Democratic Party has failed in the last several years. Let's get rid of the people that have been just sitting on their butts and not doing anything, and bring in new people. We'll actually primary some of our older senators and representatives that have not done a thing in the last several years. Let's primary them. Well, obviously, Ken Martin didn't want that, and most Democratic, the institution doesn't want that. So now they're going to try to get David Hogg, vote him out and get rid of him. But I disagree, even though I don't agree with Hogg, don't agree with Martin. We've got to have everybody's voice. It's when you start silencing voices because you don't agree with them, I don't want to be a part of that either. I mean, and I know that's happened in the Republican Party, it's happened, and it's happening in the Democratic Party. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not, because it is. But again, we've got to have the voice of every person, and that's where the Democratic Party has become the problem, I guess, over the last, since you talked about it changing from you. The Democratic Party changed in the 60s more so than anywhere, because that's when it started including more voices that it had not done before. More voices of minorities, black people, women, now Hispanics and gays and lesbians and people of that nature. All of a sudden now their voice that had been tamped down for so many years is now becoming basically the party. I mean, it is, and as much as the conservative part of the Democratic Party wants to stop that, it's not going to happen. The AOCs is the future of the Democratic Party. 20 years from now, those will be the voice of the Democratic Party, and social issues not necessarily become more prevalent. It'll just be who's running the party that's more prevalent. So
Right.
that's why the party is leaving the old white man like ourselves and becoming more of a diverse party, and we're not as relevant as we used to be. Simple as that.
Well, I'll tell you, I think the pairing of Bernie Sanders and AOC is, it's kind of a dichotomy, really odd, but I'm like you. I agree. I think AOC and that wing of the party is going to be dominant.
They have a point. They have a voice.
Yeah.
Well, they're the most passionate.
Mm-hmm. And they're bringing up issues that people don't want to talk about. They're bringing up issues that somebody that's been saved, like myself, set in my ways for 30 or 40 or 50 years, all of a sudden now saying, I don't know that I want to go this direction. But that's the whole point of democracy. We're run by a country that is the will of the people. I mean, yeah, you still rule a country of laws, but you also move with the time, and that's why I like the word progressive much more than I like the word liberal, because I like progressive. We need to progress with time.
Yeah.
Well, Kenny, I don't know now nationally. Now, I'll tell you, I liked Joe Biden had a record, his career of being kind of a centrist as a Democrat, a conservative Democrat. And I think that was one of the big reasons, at least maybe for my generation, why he was elected, was because he's not considered a radical.
Right.
And I don't know, looking down at the future, Kenny, if nationally somebody who's more of an activist like AOC can win a national election. And against, of course, I'm looking at constituents in my group.
Yeah, it's going to be a generation change, no question. Our group is not going to vote for an AOC. It's just simple as that. I mean, we know that. But as time moves on, I don't know how nobody can predict what the next generation is going to be or what they're going to say. But now that we're more open about who people are, I mean, people are not going to go back. I mean, the LGBTQ group is not going back underground. The black community is not going to go back to being more silent. The women certainly are not going to go back and be in the kitchen and be subservient as they were in the past. You're not going to put that genie back in the bottle. So to think that you can change that is just absolutely unreal, because the Democratic Party, again, progressive means one thing. You progress with time, and I think we're going back to the original Declaration of Independence of all people being created equal, and we're actually living that now, and are trying to live that now more so than it did when it originally started out, and a black person was 3/5 of a person. I mean, we've come a long way. We've got a long way to go.
Well, let's talk about what that means in present terms.
What that means in present terms is we need more people, obviously, to get involved with the political system. Right now, I just happened to look at it this morning before I come in about, obviously, we're going in waves. I mean, I mentioned that earlier about conservative, liberal, Democrats, Republicans. Right now, Republicans are on a big wave. I mean, they call it the red wave a couple years ago. State of Kentucky is more, just a couple years ago, history was made.
Right.
There's more Republicans in Kentucky than Democrats. And it's still, this data I got in front of me is really skewed anyway, because right now we got 43% of Nelson County as Democrats, 47% of Nelson County is Republican. And we got several others in the Green Party, Libertarian Party, and Social Workers Party. But what I'm saying is even these numbers don't tell the true story, because I looked at several other counties over in eastern Kentucky, and they're still predominantly Democrat. I know they're not. I mean, they don't vote that way. They're registered that way, but they don't vote that way.
Right.
So you can't go by
Party
registration. That is almost meaningless. It's good to have. It's good to know. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like right now we're in the midst of a very red wave under Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump has been the key factor in this, in bringing people out to vote and to get more active. So I enjoy activism, but I just hope people do it for the right reasons, and we're hoping to do that with the Democratic Party. We do it every 4 years. We have a convention, and we invite every single registered Democrat in the county to come to the convention.
That's what we're doing right now.
And we're doing it tomorrow night. And when they come in, and they're going to elect the new leadership of the county. And the leadership's the executive committee and the chair. And right now I'm currently chaired. Margie, you were chair, I think, for almost 20 years.
For 20 years.
So you held I think at one time, the record for the longest female to be a chair of the Democratic Party in the state.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from you, and I'm hoping people are learning a little bit from me, because I really don't want to be chair again. I'll take it if nobody else wants it. It's a thankless job.
I can attest to that.
It's a job I enjoyed, but at the same time I didn't really relish. So if I happen to get it, I'm not going to turn it down. But again, I'm hoping somebody else will step up. So yeah, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at the Knights of Columbus Hall. It's called the Marshtown Event Center. It's at 107 North 4th Street. 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Please come. You can nominate any Democrat.
A registered Democrat.
Any registered. It had to be registered by 30 days ago. So it had to be registered by April 15th of 2025. Because you can't just change over today and show up tomorrow night. But they want to, if you come in, you can nominate any other registered Democrat in the county. After that, we'll have a vote. The top 10 men, top 10 women. We'll have a youth, a member of the Democratic Women's Club. We'll have by the end of tomorrow evening, we'll have a new executive committee, and that's the leadership for the Democratic Party for the next 4 years.
And you can even nominate yourself, I suppose.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we want people to, because the majority of people, I think that's the best way to do it, is nominate yourself to make sure you stay active. Now, we also have precincts, which are
and you have to make sure it's somebody who wants the office.
Oh, yeah. Don't just know.
You just nominate someone and don't later find out that they really don't have the time for it.
That's happened several times. We'll have somebody get nominated, voted in, and they
do
never
it
show up to a meeting.
They do it as a sign of respect.
Yeah.
But what they're not considering is this person going to be able to
Exactly.
have the time and temperament to do.
Well, exactly, because it's a commitment. There's a commitment to make. We usually have meetings once a month, and there's other things that people get involved with. We've got a lot of subcommittees. I got a precinct committees. We got 24 precincts in Nelson County right now. We'd like to have a precinct committee in each one of them. They only really come into play if there's a special election going on, somebody dies or leaves office for some reason or other. You need to have somebody in each precinct that's affected for that. But so we're gonna there's room for everybody. Anybody that wants to come in and wants to get involved, we'll find a committee for you. If you're not on an executive committee, you'll be on a precinct committee, or we've got 3 subcommittees. One is more of a getting out, trying to recruit committee, recruiting candidates, and that's where we've really been lax in the last few years. I'll go into the reasons later, but we've really had a hard time recruiting candidates because they just don't want to lose. And right now they see that red wave as well as I do.
But Kenny, I mean, speaking as a member of the executive committee and the active, I am very, very heartened by the fact that we have so many new people. Not just the same old.
In the last 6 months, we started out with about 10 or 12 people. Now we're up to 40 or 50 people.
And a lot of these are people who are new to Nelson County. They've moved to Nelson County because they like what they see and they want to live here. But they are also people who are alarmed at the way things are going, and they want to be part of party, the Democratic Party. I find that very hard.
It is, because I've had a lot of people say, I didn't know you all even existed. And it sort of stings me a little bit when I hear that, because maybe we're not doing a good job of outreach, but we're going to fix that. We're going to try to reach out more and let people know we are here.
Right.
Well, Kenny, you mentioned the red wave, and I'm sure you've been through enough political cycles, that my theory, and I picked this up from Terry Stewart, who was a political science teacher at ECC years ago, and she said that the political spectrum, that it swings back and forth, and right now we're way into the red.
Yeah.
And that at some point there'll be a correction. It'll go the other way.
It's been generational. Basically, the kids go against the older generation. I mean, they look at the older generation as being a little outdated, and okay, let's say, like I said, the AOC's coming along to replace the Bernie Sanders.
Right.
So it's that's a little bit of it. But it also, once it stings and hits home, like we mentioned Social Security earlier, if Social Security becomes an issue, if Medicare, and younger people don't think about that.
No.
If you're 25, 30 years old, Social Security, Medicare is the last thing on your mind right now.
Right.
But it will be someday. And I really think, as people start paying attention and start noticing things that are hurting them, their 401k, hurting their future or livelihood. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many people have you seen just recently and said, I had a good business going until these tariffs come in, and all of a sudden now I'm going to close shop. Now I just wonder how those people feel now about how they voted. They don't say, but if somebody comes in and does something to harm me or harm you, yeah, it's going to change your attitude. It might just take a day or two, but over time it will.
Well, I will tell you, just quickly on tariffs, this lie that goes out about, tariffs will, of course, tariffs are protectionism for certain industries, Mm-hmm. I mean, for example, financial talk show host Dave Ramsey said that he knows a guy who's building a vacation home in, I can't remember what the famous vacation spot in Mexico. And he said all the appliances that he buys in Mexico, they come from the United States, and there's a 33% tariff on any appliance coming from the United States. He said, so, and I think the point he was making is that tariffs work both ways, but it made it more expensive for him in Mexico because he had to pay the tariff. Well, tariffs on stuff coming in here makes it more expensive for us.
Right.
It's not making the government money. It's not making anybody money. If you're an importer and your costs go up, who pays that extra cost? Certainly not you. Mm-hmm. You have to pass that on as the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple economics 101. But I hear this lie. Well, it's not going to. And finally there's an admission. Well, it might hurt for a short time, and it's like, well, it'll hurt as long as those tariffs are.
Well, the tariffs could have come into place, but it could have been phased in over a negotiated period for years and years. I mean, it might take 2 or 3 years to do this. Go to Mexico. Say, okay, here's what's going to happen if you don't lower your tariffs. We're going to do this. But don't just slam them in day one. All of a sudden, we're not prepared for that. Nobody was prepared for that.
Well, but then you see that, and of course, this is textbook Donald Trump. You make the threat, and you get them to the bargaining table, and then you discuss the details of all this. But I think that's a horrible way to do business on a national stage.
Well, it might work great in his business. I don't know. I've never dealt with him. But yeah, it just put us all in a very rough situation.
And it roiled all the markets. I mean, because they don't know from one day to the next if imports from Europe are going to be tariffed at 50%, 100%, 150%.
And those kids are only going to get $2 at Christmas. You know that, don't you? They're not just $30 stuff.
Yeah, I saw on Instagram a spoof commercial about a new doll that it's called Tariff Tina, and that would be the only doll you'll be able to afford this Christmas.
They get 30 hats for it, and they can change his personality every day or something. I don't know.
That's not a bad idea.
I'm going to take credit for it if he comes up with it next week. So.
Yeah, you'll be Donald Trump's speaker.
But again, right now, what we're doing, and we're trying, and I don't know if you say it's survival mode, but we're the loyal opposition right now, the Democratic Party is. We're not as bad off in Nelson County as people would like to say we are. I mean, like I said, numbers-wise, we're at 43%. They're at 47%, so yeah, we're looking at 4% difference. I don't go a lot by numbers. I do think we are a very Republican conservative county. I won't deny that for a second because the whole state of Kentucky has become that. And I do say it's Donald Trump. If Donald Trump was not on the ticket for the last few years, you'd see a much different electorate right now. So, yeah, we're out recruiting. So if anybody out there is listening to my voice right now and has ever thought about running for office as a Democrat, please show up tomorrow night at the convention or give us a call, and we will train you. We will fund you. We will do whatever it takes to help support you to run for office. So we're looking for Democrats to run for office as well as looking for volunteers. We got people wanting to march. We got people wanting to put up signs along the road. We've got Tom Hibbs done a great job for us out in the Cox's Creek area. Tom loves those little, what do you call them? The shave. Yeah, well, they call them Bermuda shaves. Burma shave. I knew something. Yeah. He loves those little signs, and Tom has done a great job for us. So we've had several other people as well get really active. So yeah, please come to our convention tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, KC Hall in Barstown. Love to have you there. If you're a registered Democrat, please be there. Yeah, please. We want you there.
All right, we got to get a commercial or two in, or else I'm going to be on his bad side.
List.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment with more Bradford Brooks. Stay tuned. All right, you're back with Bradford Brooks, and some of our best conversations here in the studio happen during the breaks, oddly enough.
Yeah, we have to bleep everything.
Yeah, that's true. It would be an adult made-for-cable TV audience, wouldn't it?
We could.
Well, Kenny, the Republican Party did their organization earlier this year, and of course, Magistrate John Snow is party chairman.
John's a good guy. I like John, a good friend of mine.
Yeah, so there'll be anyway new leadership, and it's I don't know, it's refreshing because to see every 4 years the local party has the opportunity to bring in some either keep the leadership they have or try somebody new, because 4 years is a long time, and in the party, you really want, if you're going to serve in those positions, you need to be ready to serve and willing.
You got to be willing to serve. You got to be willing to take a lot of, I'm going to use the word crap, because there's a lot of people that you make a lot of enemies just simply for your title. Because I know I've called a lot of slack from people that people have called me names and threatened me and everything else. So you got to be prepared for that. You got to be prepared to understand it. And I'm going to go in a little bit philosophical here. I mentioned earlier I served 25 years in the Air Force, and I look at service in a different way than a lot of people do. I worked for state government for several years. I look at that as a service. And I think of this job basically as a service. I think as chair of a local party or a member of a local party, active member, you're actually serving your country. You may not be wearing a uniform, but you're actually serving your country in maybe more ways than the person in uniform. And you're fighting not only for democracy, you're
keeping the democratic process going.
Exactly. You're keeping the First Amendment going, if nothing else. And to me, the First Amendment, I mentioned, we started the show talking about journalists. I mean, defending journalism, defending the fourth rail, they call it. You got three parts of government, but the fourth part of government is the news media. And we've got to defend that. We can't let somebody ever get up there and say the media is the enemy of the people, because that is the start of dictatorship and tyranny right there, and destroys democracy.
Kenny, I think I've heard that a reference.
You have heard that, and there's recently a guy that says that quite often.
Yes, he does.
I'm going to try to avoid saying his name as much as possible, but I think anybody that keeps up with politics knows exactly who I'm talking about. Because good journalism kills democracy. I mean, it kills somebody that wants to be a tyrant, because it brings out the truth and it actually reveals things they don't want revealed.
Well, I will tell you, as a journalist, I went to all three of President Trump's rallies in his first term here, and at a certain point in the rally, he'll point to they have all the media corralled in one area. He'd point and then he'll start on his fake news, and I was at Rupp, and they had a pretty packed house, and to hear 25,000 people booing you, in mass, and you feel like you're this little dot on the floor of Rupp Arena, and the whole crowd is, responding to his calls to. I was expecting paper cups or something to come flying out.
Oh, they've gotten threats. A lot of them have been threatened, had to be taken out by security.
But,
and these are the people, and they're not in it for anything else but to just show you alternative. I mean, just to keep somebody honest. I mean, they're not there. What do they think they're there for? They think they're there to overthrow somebody? Because like I told you, I think I told you this off the air, I want to like Donald Trump. I want to like him. I'm hoping he does well. I really do. I hope he does great. I hope, because when he does great, we all do great. I hope he has a great life. I hope he makes billions of dollars. I don't have a thing against the man on a personal level. I just want to save democracy, and I just think he's a threat.
Well, he certainly has a different take on being president. He's the most unpresidential acting president I think we've ever seen, and that's not always bad. I mean, he's a businessman first, but there's some decorum and some things that that look presidential, that he doesn't seem to have that bone in his body. But I'm like you. I'm very concerned, but I'm also in his corner because I want the country to do well. And, the president being the leader of the country, if he says things are going to HE double hockey sticks in a handbasket, well, guess what? The markets probably will. I mean, his actions reverberate through the whole economy. And good and bad.
Well, like I said, I hope he does well. I have not one thing against the man on a personal level. I don't know that he's somebody I'd like to have a beer with. I really don't, because I think he really is somebody that takes care of himself and his closest allies, and the rest of us are on our own. But like I said, when you start messing with Medicaid, start messing with the things this immigration thing, I don't think anybody disagrees that we need to deport people. I don't think anybody disagrees we need to close the borders. Mm-hmm. It's just the way he does, just rounds up people and then when he finds out he's made a mistake, refuses to correct the mistake. Exactly. I mean, we've got a guy, probably more than one, that does not to be in prison, and especially the kind of prison they're in. That's humanity.
Under inhumane conditions.
It is very inhumane, and I feel for these people. They're human beings. I mean, if we want to get into Christianity, and I don't want to get into all that on this show here, because I know you brought me in here on politics, and I'm a big believer in the separation, but we still got to be humanely take care of our brother and sister throughout the world, whether they're a different color than us, different nationality, different anything than us. We're all God's children. I mean, it's just flat simple as that.
Kenny, I'm waiting for the Republican Congress and the Senate to step up because a lot of their authority, their power has been usurped by executive order.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that needs to be corrected. And I don't know, because of the president's pull and his sway, if you go against him, he'll threaten to fund your primary opponent. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's very effective in his threats, and he's keeping the party in line. And even those who probably would rather do otherwise.
Oh, yeah, the next Congress is going to have the work cut out for him after he's out of office. I mean, you'll see so many different rules, constitutional changes, it'll be unreal, because nobody anticipated what he did and what he has done. So the founding fathers had no way of predicting how he was going to do this, because that's why they didn't put a lot of this in the Constitution.
Right.
And they did, some of it, and he's still ignoring it.
Well, Kenny, the midterm election coming up is going to be interesting. And, the president's party usually takes it on the chin in a midterm election. I think that'll certainly be the case this time.
Maybe not in Kentucky as much. We got a couple good candidates running. I know over in the 6th District, Sherilyn Stevenson just announced yesterday. Mm-hmm. And we got Morgan McGarvey, obviously, in the 3rd. Now,
he's running for re-election.
Yes. So Morgan will be in the 3rd. Sherilyn will be a good, strong candidate in the 6th. That's over in eastern Kentucky, Lexington and beyond. Rest of the state's going to be tough. I mean, there's Brett Guthrie's in the 2nd, and obviously up in the the 4th district. Where Nelson County's half 4th and half 2nd, so it's going to be a struggle. We've got Monica Dean, I think, locally running from the 4th district as a Democrat, and I don't know how Monica's going to do. Funding will be her issue right now. Hopefully she'll get funded, but a great person, great lady, veteran, and hopefully she's got a shot at it.
Now, Pam Stevenson is running for
She's running for the Mitch McConnell seat right now.
Yeah.
She's running statewide.
Yeah, she's quite a lady, and
She
with
is.
a tremendous resume.
But female, black, it's going to be hard out in the rural communities to sell. As simple as that. That's say Charles Booker had the same problem a few years ago. So it's just a hard sell outside of Louisville and Lexington.
All right, that's going to do it for Bradford Brooks. Thank you so much, Kenny. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
All right, well, thanks for being
Kenny.
here.
All right, we'll be back next week with another show, Bradford and Brooks. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Get out and enjoy the weather.